Welcome to week 12 of our SAT vocabulary study. This is a quiz week, so please make sure that you are preparing for Friday's quiz by studying week 12 and last week's week 11 words. There will be homework at the end of this video, so do not stop at the last word. Make sure that you continue on so that you see what your assignment is. This week, all of our words are nouns. So our first noun is gluttony. And gluttony is a word that we use when someone indulges in overly excessive eating or overly excessive drinking. Let's say, for example, that you and your best friend order a beast pizza and the two of you wolf down the entire pizza in a very short period of time. You might be accused of gluttony. Gluttonous is the adjective form. Of course, that would modify a noun. Or glutton is someone who indulges in gluttony. Our example, and I will note that all of our words this week can be associated with food in one way or another. Anyway, of course, there are some delicious Krispy Kreme donuts. It would be pure gluttony for someone to wolf down a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts in one sitting. I'm sure there are some of you who disagree, but I would think that that might be considered gluttony. Our next word is pittance. Again, these are all nouns. And a pittance is any small amount of something, a small share of something, or a small sum of something. And of course, you can relate this to food. When you don't get enough food at the cafeteria at lunch, you might say, oh, they just gave me a pittance. Or, for example, maybe you did a lot of chores last week and you feel that you deserved a $20 bill and your mom gave you $2. You might say that you received a pittance of an allowance. In keeping with the theme, this plate contains a pittance of rice, peas, and a small chicken breast. I'd be very hungry if this was all I had to eat. And if you consider the words gluttony and pittance, you kind of have opposite ends of the spectrum there. Too much and not enough. Our next noun this week is aversion. And when you have an aversion for or towards something, you have a very strong feeling of dislike or opposition for it. So I compel you to think about the kinds of foods that you absolutely do not like, and you might say that you have an aversion to them. You might have aversions to other things aside from food. For example, I do not like clowns, so I have an aversion toward clowns. Here's the biggest food I have an aversion towards, and I know that Lauren Colbrand shares this with me. I have a huge aversion toward coconut, and it annoys me when I order a dessert at a restaurant and the baker sneaks coconut in and it's not advertised on the menu. It's very yucky. Our fourth word is confection, and a confection is simply a candy or a sweet. Now, in this case, confection is a concrete noun. It's not an abstract noun. It's a thing that you can see and hold and, most of all, taste. You can change the form of this word and add an ARY. A confectionery is also a noun and is a place where confections are made or sold. One of my favorite confections is the chocolate-covered pretzel from Aglamisi's Brothers over in Oakley, which is in Cincinnati. They are absolutely delicious. They make their own chocolate and then they carefully cover these pretzels with milk chocolate and dark chocolate, and they are to die for. They have great ice cream too. Finally, we have myriad. And myriad is sort of a complicated little word, and it has a couple of different forms to it. So this is going to require a little more discussion, and I sure hope that you're listening because you'll be responsible for understanding the difference between the two usages. A myriad we're using here as a noun, And when myriad acts as a noun in a sentence, most usually it is followed by the word of. And myriad as a noun means a vast or an indefinitely great number of persons or things. For example, if you were to go to Kings Island and it was jam-packed, you might say that there was a myriad of people at Kings Island. There were lots of them, and there were lots of different kinds of them. The word myriad can also be used as an adjective. So as you know, an adjective describes a noun. So it would need to be in front of or in very close proximity, usually in front of the noun. And it also means innumerable, and it would not have the of that follows it. So myriad can be a noun and it can be an adjective, pretty much the same meaning, but different form of usage in each of this in the sentences. So I'll show you both examples. This would be the noun version. Since there is a myriad of items on the menu at Fridays, I often have trouble deciding what to order. Notice that we use the word is because myriad, even though it's discussing a lot of things, it's really considered singular word. And then the adjective usage, Jelly Belly offers myriad colors and flavors of jelly beans. My favorite is orange sherbet. So when you use this word, you can use it as an adjective or you can use it as a noun. And if you use it as a noun, most likely you'll be putting an of after it. I would say when you encounter this in your reading, chances are you're going to find it more frequently used as an adjective, but you'll see it as both. All right, so here is the homework for this evening. You can put this on the opposite page in your ILJ. I would like for you to respond to the following prompts for each word. So you'll be writing 5 different responses to a prompt. I'm using the word responses because I imagine that some of you may write certainly more than one sentence. And as I evaluate these, I will be evaluating your thoroughness as it applies to responding to the prompt. I'll also be evaluating the detail and imagery that you use. Build in context and use imagery and detail. Practice good descriptive writing. You will be asked to illustrate one of the items you write about. So you can choose any one, and the illustration must be colored in order to receive full credit. As I was walking around checking the haiku pictures last week, I noticed that some were not colored, and it needs to be colored. So go crazy on that. All right, so the first one, you have to write about a time when you engaged in some gluttony or when you might have witnessed it. Number 2, write about a time when you received a pittance of something. 3, write about a food that you have the greatest aversion to or towards. Number 4, write about your favorite confection. And finally, write about something you'd like to have a myriad of. So plain and simple, you're using each word in a scenario as is described here. And finally, do not forget that the quiz will be Friday of this week on weeks 11 and 12. And please make sure that you complete a Quizlet practice test before Friday's class. Have a good evening.